and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Olani. Hope you had a great weekend. Okay, for sports fans around the world, there was the unfortunate news of Kobe Bryant, going down in his helicopter alongside his daughter, and I think about those two were among 7 or 9 others that unfortunately perished in that accident. May God rest their souls. That shook the sports world all over the world. Well, my guest this morning, Comrade Debo Adeniro, Executive Chair of CACOL, and CACOL happens to be the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership. Good morning, Mr. Adeniro. Thank you. Well, Comrade Adeniro, thank you very much for coming on. And
is good, you know.
Yeah, so that sort of sets the tone of where we're going this morning.
That's right.
As we welcome Mr. Ademola Adegoke, Communications Consultant. Thank you very much for coming on as well, sir.
Good morning.
Indeed.
Thanks for inviting me.
Indeed.
Good morning, viewers back at home.
So it's become something trite now, but the war against corruption. When our president was in the UK, over the past week, about 7 days ago, he had met with his UK counterpart, Boris Yeltsin. And among other things, they brought up the whole matter of Nigerians who had fled to the UK since 2015 upon the assumption of this administration, and appealed to, the appropriate office through the president that, look, send these, repatriate them, let's investigate them. And so we're not clamping them in jail. They have rights. We know. We go by the rule of law. Let's investigate them. I suppose the most notorious, if that is the word, maybe most important, is former Minister Diezani Alison Madueke. 6.7 billion, is it naira now? I think has been ordered permanently forfeited in the first instance, not to talk about jewelry. That's another healthy chunk.
Worth $40 million.
Worth $40 million. Now, well, according to the law, it very well might be hers because she has to go through charges. That's why the president said, investigation, and let's try them.
That's right.
But how optimistic are you? Let me start with you, Debo. How optimistic are you that these foreign countries will cooperate the way we need? It seems like a no-brainer to us. The figures I have mentioned would give anyone pause that, hang on, you're not a Dangote. We can see where all his refineries, all his factories, nobody's going to say that to someone like him. But in this case, isn't that reason enough for the application by Nigeria to be seriously considered? Yet they tend to let these guys still have refuge, maybe going by the whole matter of human rights or whatever. What do you say, Debo?
Thank you very much. Remember that it is the same Western countries that colonized Nigeria in the first place, and when they were leaving, they left Nigerian government in the hands of those they could trust will protect their interests here. And self-interest is what is governing their mind and their international policies. In all cases, you discover that anytime money is stolen in African countries, they were taken to the Western country or sometimes Eastern countries and other, but mainly Western countries. And for so long, the Western countries will not speak about those money that is being kept there. You remember what happened in Panama Papers, Paradise Papers and all of that. All of these reveal humongous amounts of money that has been filtered away. And what we heard...
Even as Switzerland seems to be cooperating and repatriating some funds.
The promise, they have not fulfilled it completely. And when you look at what World Bank said, he said more than about $500 billion have been taken away from Nigeria by Nigerians who occupy position of authority, occupy position of trust. Now, those money are still residing there. Now, as far back as 2013, the then Coalition Against Corrupt Leaders that has turned to Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership protested to submit a petition to the EFCC that Diezani Alison Madueke could have filtered away as much as $20 billion, yes, not naira, Okay, Muhammadu Sanusi was the head of the central bank then, indicted her that much, and we said this woman needed to be probed. And we actually exhibited the number of private jets that she had, what her children played with. They swim in raw dollars, okay, and play with it as if they frolicked with women of easy virtues and all of that, throwing money around. We presented it to the EFCC as far back as 2013. Nobody did anything until 2018 that they invited us to come and give more information. The same thing as far back as 2007, we protested against the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, that he could have frittered away so much money or put them in real estate and several companies where they didn't do anything until when Obasanjo wrote his My Watch, that we discovered that EFCC actually claimed they investigated. Even those of us, in fact, our petition, that is Kakor petition, and that of Ojis Okalu were consolidated. They didn't invite us to come and give evidence when they claimed they were investigating Obasanjo. They came up with the verdict of no guilt, and he was given a copy of their, what they call discrete report, which they said they could not release to us so that we would have been able to have a say. Now, when you look at Mohammed Adoke, as far back as 2011, Kakor had protested in Abuja about the role he played in Halliburton, Siemens, and this Malabu scandal, and several others. He claimed to have paid $26 million. He actually collected $26 million, which he claimed he wanted to use to prosecute Julius Berger. From the same Julius Berger he wanted to prosecute. I never prosecuted anybody. And all of these allegations, he didn't really deny. He was only saying that we could have just, have only got access to that information through official means, maybe EFCC or Accountant General and all of that. So what are we now talking about? This is, all of this money have frittered away to these Western countries.
Okay, but hopefully we'll be able to, you see, the thing is due process. And here, Demola, the law is what it is. It does, its wheels grind slowly, and all over the world, not excluding Nigeria, we tend to want to go by the law. You can't just on suspicion of it's clear to us. I don't need to be a lawyer to know. No. That might appeal to your emotions, but the law will apply a much more rigorous standard. There's a problem here because the rule of law. I think at one time the president said something that a lot of people howled about, something about the rule of law. Yeah, I remember now that, look, when it comes to security, the rule of law will have to, take it easy. Yeah. You take it easy. Let me just put it like that. Is it that the legal processes that must be followed is what is causing this delay rather than complicity the way some might see it?
Well, maybe I want to see it from the angle of both. You understand? Complicity and legal technicalities, causing delay. But let me I don't know whether it's a digression a little, to say that, you see, we have described the fight against corruption as a war. And I know that in warfare, it is there are several ingredients that must be complete for you to have a successful war campaign. The willpower will be there. You understand? You have to, the soldiers of the war, must be well, motivated. Talking, militarily now. Okay. And then
remember, Ribadu, that when you fight corruption, it will fight back.
Yes. Then you have, you also rely on the right tool, you know, the right arms and ammunition to fight that war. You rely on intelligence, and you know, you also now rely on strategy. Your strategy must be right. If your strategy is not right, you can't win the war. If you are fighting a war, even when you have the right arms and ammunition, you know, the willpower is there, but your strategy is wrong. Maybe when you are supposed to attack the enemy from the north, you attack from the south. You may fail. And so I think that is what is happening here. We may accuse the Western countries of, you know, not acting with the swiftness that we expect of them when we report cases of corruption to them, when, you know, when money is filtered, you know, to their territory, and they seem to be, you know, protecting the corporates. We may accuse them of that, but we also need to ask ourselves, from what he has said, from, you know,
his
from
opening gambit,
you know, we can see that, you know, even our own process, there is a lot that is wrong with it.
One is reminded of former Governor James Ibori in this regard.
You see, so I'm going there. There are even cases like the Siemens and Alibotin cases. Do you know that Italy, the people involved, they've been rightly prosecuted and sentenced.
Yes.
You understand? Both in Italy and in Germany.
The Nigerian counterparts are working free.
So what message are you now sending to the world? You understand? What message are you sending to the world?
The message is about legal jurisdictions differing. Because of, you know, we're not lawyers here, but look, here in Nigeria, a person can be declared discharged and acquitted. And then you take it to another jurisdiction.
Like the case of Ibori. Like the case of Ibori, you know.
You know, and so much like what you said about strategy. That is one thing for you to have all the tools and all of that.
Strategy.
That concept came up when we were discussing the, although we're not talking about the Imo State case now, there are those who brought in that whole matter that, look, strategy, the court is not a Father Christmas.
It's not a Father Christmas.
And depending on how you present it, is depending on how they will judge it.
Let me tell you, the court has its own discretion to use. Sometimes public perception also guide the court's processes.
Or should.
Where it does.
It does sometimes.
Yeah. Look at what happened in the case of Ibori. It's also a Kakor project. When he was arraigned in Kaduna, we were there. And his own people fought us. In fact, they pulled down the wall or the fence of the court because they didn't want some of us to get into that. Now, what did he get in Kaduna? They said that the Federal High Court Kaduna was about 300 kilometers away from the places where the offense was committed. So, but before then, what we were made to understand is that the Federal High Court is just one singular court. It can sit anywhere. And that was how Abiola was taken to Abuja, and people were taken to Gashua and all of that. Now, they created the Asaba division of Federal High Court to try that case. But the irony about Nigerian situation was that the house that housed the court was donated by the same government that Ibori had dropped. And with those who were indicted with them are running the government, Amos Utuama and Emmanuel Uduaga. They were the ones who donated the house that housed the trial judge, Masaya Okulenye. Now, what do we expect from such a court? When the perversion was about to be carried out, we wrote 4 petitions to the NJC. They responded 4 times. And those petitions were the reasons why Awukulenye, the trial judge, could not deliver his judgment 3 times. He postponed it 3 times, saying he wanted to err on the side of caution. But what caution is it when you have evidence of $15 million with which Ibori tried to bribe Ribadu? No, Ribadu. He was not allowed to answer any question in court.
So
we are saying that the warped, warped judicial system.
But that was then.
That was then.
Is it getting better or different now? Because that was then and this is a different administration.
You see, for me, like we can't heap the whole blame on the judiciary. And I'm going to cite cases. Very recent. There is a new story that is making the rounds online now about the former GM of Petroleum Equalization Fund. Yeah. You understand? Just December last year, the court ordered that, his property be forfeited because 3.4 billion naira, was traced to his account and that of, a colleague in that same organization. And by December, the court, ordered that, a lot of his property be forfeited, and that was done.
Excuse me, please. Let me bring in Hezekiah from Gombe, who has called in, so that we don't lose him. Good morning, Hezekiah.
Uncle Yori, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to your guest also.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Yes, Uncle Yori, we've been very grateful with your program. It has been very helpful, and the Lord bless you.
Amen.
Actually, Uncle Yori, you see, the issue of corruption in Nigeria, I believe our leaders are taking it very lightly because it benefits them. This present government has a lot of issues to settle. Well, now, for example, look at it this way now. This present government said it's fighting corruption, said it is fighting insurgency. Look at what is going on presently now, sir. They said they are fighting insurgency, and it looks as if it's a whole lie. Now, Nigeria is facing like a religious manipulation that we, the Christians, will not understand. They said they are fighting corruption, and all the security heads, all the more than 20 of commissioner of police, SS heads, head of all security, all of them are Muslims. One-sided. And he said he's fighting corruption. How could he be fighting corruption?
Okay, thank you very much, Hezekiah, for calling in. But I don't know how helpful it is to mix in religion when we're talking about corruption.
Corruption
doesn't have a religion.
knows no religion.
Or tribe.
Knows no tribe.
No.
My brother, the reason why corruption crimes have been difficult to fight is because of all of these primordial
that keep on coming,
including politics.
Including politics.
You see, those that committed the highest, amount of corruption crimes are politicians, and they still remain in politics, and they want to call the shot. Now, they have their people in government. Money governs the mind of many of them. Now, you have
whether you are Christian or Muslim,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Now, look at it. Corruption crimes have been there since a very long time, and the present administration is just starting from 1999. There are some who have committed corruption crimes even before then, in the military days. So those ones, as the petitions and papers on those, are gathering dust. Now, the one they started from 1999, they have been able to convict a few of them. But it's the same system that makes prosecution of corruption, corruptionists, difficult. They want to get to heaven, they don't want to die. They want you to prosecute all the corrupt elements within one first swoop, but they want to separate those that are related to them from the pack. If you are my brother and I am the corrupt person to be tried, by the time you make your presentation here, you are not likely to cite my case as an example. The same thing with...
So, let me bring this point that you're making today, Mother. The primordial sentiments that come up, does it interfere that much? Because I imagine that within the judiciary too, there are all those experts and all those very senior guys who would subscribe to the matter of religion doesn't come into it. It's only the facts before us. Is that being simplistic? Because that's what Debo is saying.
No. You see, he has...
Because these guys are professional. And I know that, yes, human beings can be weak, but I
has
doubt that and Hezekiah started it by bringing in the whole matter of
the religion,
Christians and all of that.
You see, for me, what he has said, I was making a point before we brought in Hezekiah, that we cannot just heap the whole blame on the judiciary. And his own contribution has sort of corroborated my, standpoint. Because you see that it is what you bring before the judiciary, that the judiciary, tries, you understand. And I was giving an example.
But the point Debo also makes that relates to that is that, the lordships in the courts, they're sitting down waiting for cases to come before them. Now, whoever is saddled with the responsibility of preparing the cases, this is where Debo says those one will decide which one they want to prefer and take before them.
Is that not the point?
And they cannot now say, no, are you sure you did this one well? How about this? How about that?
The court will not, no judge will go and meet the DPP, for example, to say, which case are you bringing before me?
Exactly.
So, and I was citing the case of the former GM of petroleum equalization, Goody Nadi, who, the court already ordered the forfeiture of his property. And as I speak, the news that broke online yesterday is that the man has been returned to his back to his office with all allowances paid.
One moment, please. Yeah, I get you. You're gonna continue on that point if you wanna. But Abdul Malik Hassan in Apapa. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Very much.
Thank you so much, Yori.
Sure.
I want to tell you that corruption has ecosystem, and until we fix the ecosystem, which has been running in circles. Take the example of the one Mr. Adegoke just cited. You cannot say somebody has forfeited property and the person will go back to office. It is not done. What government is this? How are we running this country? We are taking one step forward, 20 steps backward. A civil servant, what are they going to forget to understand? They sold more than 20 billion in the civil servant's accounts. I went through his accounts, 20 billion. And because of this, a friend was telling me last week how we lost a multi-million-dollar investment in Nigeria. Because the lawyer of his partners abroad showed this petroleum equalization fund saga to him, and he could not defend it. How can you send back somebody that has forfeited property to the government back to his office? What are you telling other public servants? I mean, this is wrong. It is not a matter of the president. They have a board. They have a management. All of them should be sacked.
Okay.
What are we talking about in this country?
Thank you very much.
It's not a matter of the president.
Thank you for calling in, Mr. Hassan. Yes, I interrupted you.
It's
very muddled. The processes of our prosecuting, even though President Buhari is reported to have been telling his UK counterpart that we are assiduously and diligently, prosecuting the war against, quote unquote, the war against corruption. But you see, Nigerians will come up with these stories.
You see, that's what I'm saying. Like in the case of this petroleum equalization fund man, the court has done its own bit, ordering the forfeiture of his property. And suddenly the man is back.
So how does that happen?
How do those two mesh?
But before it could happen, I imagine that there are going to be some boffins, some intellectual somewhere that will say it's because you don't understand the law in regard. I mean, that's a word, because this is too. It would appear ordinarily to be too blatant.
Even if you understand
for it not to have an explanation.
Even if you understand the law, you discover that there are 3 lawyers in every case. The one sitting on the bench and the 2 that one is defending, one is prosecuting. So they are all lawyers. Where did they get the fact that they are marshalling, on behalf of different clients that will not inform the position of the judge? So they will always justify anything. Like this thing that we are talking about. Why should Ibori not be prosecuted by now?
One moment, sir. Ekene, did I get that right? Is Ekene Kene is calling in from Benue State. Good morning, Kene.
Yeah, hello. Good morning, Uncle Yuri.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the country has actually been so deep in the corruption, and there is so much more for us to do as a people, as a country. Let's understand that the former president Olusegun Obasanjo brought the anti-graft agencies, the RCPC and the EFCC, way back in 2002, 2003, thereabouts. And up to this moment, years have gone, and we only celebrate corrupt people in the country, which is so sad and pathetic. All hands should be on deck. We preach about corruption almost every day. The Transparency International has actually rated Nigeria, bring Nigeria low to the previous position where we occupied before. This is quite sad. We talked about economically, a giant of an economy in an African continent, and in the world we're trying to meet up with the countries that are there talking about. And here we are as people. I want you to understand very well that until the attitude of the leaders, political office holders, would change, and the masses will stop celebrating corrupt leaders in this country, that will get it right. If not, we see it on television screens, on radio stations, we read from the newspapers. Nothing will change in this country, Uncle Yuri. This is where we can get it right. If our country now, the masses, we have it in mind of protesting against things that are going wrong with this country, most especially in corruption. Okay, look at what is happening in security now.
I'm afraid I'm sorry, Kenny. I've got to rush off on a break, but thank you very much, and you've given us meat to talk about as soon as we come back in. Stay with us, please. Welcome back. We're looking at the ongoing fight against corruption. We have Messrs. Debo Adeniro and Ademola Adeokuke in the studio, and it's against the backdrop of the president when he was in the UK last week, speaking with his UK counterpart and wanting cooperation from them. Repatriate our suspects to us. Let's, investigate them. Now, Kenneth, just before we went on break, was saying that nothing has changed and nothing will change if we keep the mindset that we have. Now, when we were off here, Debo was telling me the truism that perception is not always a reality. Now, let's talk about that particular matter of perception of the fight against corruption. Most Nigerians, I would wager, don't think that the perception they have is that enough is not being done. We cannot say with all honesty that there is a zero tolerance for, corruption. Now, that might be the perception. No. But as I said, what are the facts? Take a first stab at it, and I'll bring it to you, Debo. Take a first stab at it.
Yeah.
What are the facts? That's where the problem is.
It's so easy to say that perception truly may not represent reality. But as a reputation manager, I also know that, perception, perception sometimes, yes. In fact, most times,
it's tremendously important. Tremendously important.
Because at the end of the day, it will surely have a lot of impact. It will surely have, a huge
point of view of reputation management. If there is a perception that you are being disreputable, you're virtually dead.
Let me quote, an American anthropologist, Ruth Benedict, and she says, when a phenomenon is real in perception, you understand? When it's real, when a phenomenon is real in perception, it becomes real, in reality.
Yeah, that one is a bit deep, but
I will break it down.
Okay,
let me break it down.
I have Mr. George on the line, so let me quickly. This is the problem. There's always a third guest at every time. I beg your pardon. Okay, remember, I'll come to you, and I still have to go to Debo on the matter, by the way. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
And good morning to everybody there.
Sure,
good morning. Good morning.
Okay, I want to sympathize with Mr. Adenironda because he painted a very bad picture that one doesn't know where to start from. But I want to remind him that one can only talk about the government of President Buhari because it is his own that openly came out to say they want to fight corruption. So if we go back to the place he started from, one will be discouraged in making assessment of how far the battle has gone. But you remember that during the fourth term of President Buhari, there was virtually, the resistance was so stiff that even the National Assembly virtually stood on its way. So you can always start talking about after this change, this second term.
Now, Mr. George, sorry to interrupt you, but talking about where you are taking it, is it your conception that this government's fight against corruption, has been that diligent?
The constraints are more than what the president can effectively handle. Let me tell you why. Since he took over office, he is virtually the only one that is talking about fighting corruption in his cabinet. I cannot recall any minister in his cabinet coming out to say he's fighting corruption in his ministry. If I'm wrong, please tell me. So in a situation like that, National Assembly is fighting you. Your own cabinet members you are using to fight the corruption are not
supporting you.
They are not really supporting you. The press is against you. Every sector of the economy is against you. How far can such an individual go, even if he is the president of the country? That is the crux of the matter.
So it brings up the question of, do we really want
a
fight against corruption?
Exactly.
Yes. Do we really want, at our individual levels, do we fight corruption?
Thank you very much, Mr. George. I think, let's just leave it at there.
That's what I said much earlier, that it is the public will that is bringing down the fights against corruption, to the extent that
because everybody is connected to somebody else.
It's connected to somebody else. And you see, when you look at campaign mantras, I want to do this, I want to do that, forgetting that you have certain albatrosses along your way. You have to pass through the National Assembly. You have to pass through the judiciary. You want to fight corruption, you are even well equipped. You have to delegate authorities. Those who are delegating to, we promise that they're going to diligently execute the authority. But at the end of the day, they have their own self-interest to protect. And that is the only reason why it is only maybe the president and the vice president that are really talking about fighting corruption. Many of cabinet members may have one thing or the other to protect. But the reason is not far-fetched. The party that brought them to power was barely 1 year old before the one election. And it was a granite kind of coalition. Before they blended, it took time. And corruption was the other name for Nigerian government even before the administration came in.
Okay.
Everybody that you have in the political arena that you can appoint has one corruption baggage or the other on his neck.
That's a problem.
You just have to look.
So what you're saying to me, I begin, what both you gentlemen have been saying begins to suggest to me that we can pay a bit of attention to those who say that it will take a veritable revolution to fight corruption. But even that would have its problems. But Ehis has come on the line from Magodo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Ayori.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning to your guests there.
Sure.
Good morning.
Yes, I want to join the last caller, to some extent also sympathize with the president on his fight against corruption. But Mr. Ayori, I want us to look at issues of corruption from a different angle.
Okay.
Take it from this angle. When you want to fight corruption, I've said this several times without numbers, the first thing you need to deal with is the level of inequality, poverty. If you can't fight poverty, you can't fight corruption. Take, for example, we talk about those who praise the so-called corrupt elite, those who are their followers, who understand perfectly that this person has stolen them dry. And when you even try to even measure that before some persons, they are ready to lynch you, despite their level of poverty. Not until you cure that level of poor mentality they have by curing the poverty they have in their system, they will never allow you fight these people. So the first thing you need to do is to take care of poverty. Once you can't take care of that, I'll tell you, like one of your guests was saying, talking about revolution to fight poverty. Buhari might mean well. Your last caller said something about among Buhari's cabinet, who is that minister that is saying that we are here to fight corruption? Mr. Yori, I can assure you one thing. If there's any Nigerian leader who is able to come on board to deal with the level of serious poverty we have killing Nigerians today, I will tell you that person will root out corruption from Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Because you have a problem, Mr. Yori, where a man is hungry. Once you can give that man 10 naira, 20 naira, he can tell you to
He's not going to look at the source of the 10 naira or 20 naira. Thank you very much.
Exactly. And it comes to, you know, I was speaking actually.
But you see, I'll come right back to you, sir.
As usual.
No, because you see the length. The length of time.
Okay.
I'm trying to, but I'm coming straight back to you.
You see, while it's, one can say.
At his point, you can't fight poverty. You're not going to do very well with corruption.
No.
So this inequality.
But it boils down to one thing.
And I think a simplistic way to look at it is that when a man is hungry, really hungry, he's not going to ask you the source of the 100 naira you're giving him.
You see, but this brings us to one point that I've always, because yes, we can, from even is too, he said, yes, we can probably excuse or understand the president's dilemma in the whole thing. But then you see, my own idea of leadership is this, that the leader must be well ahead of the followers, you know, in several respects. The leader must be well ahead of the followers. And otherwise, it will be dragged down.
And remain a Democrat, which is the tough one. Remain a Democrat.
Because let's ask the question. Now we have all been talking about the sudden turnaround in Rwanda. You understand? How did it come?
Well, that's a big story, as you know, and it was a very painful process. But we know it. I'm not even sure if we want to go there or are ready to pay such a price.
Even Singapore. What brought leadership? Leadership played a very important role. Leadership. I
don't know if it was the greatest Democrat. Although they're seeing the results.
You see. Now, let me cite an example. You understand? I'm one person that believes. I'm one person that believes that President Buhari means well. Okay. But that is not to insulate him. You understand, from the blame. Okay. That is not to insulate him.
I hear you.
And I give an example.
I'll come back to you, sir.
Let me tell you.
I know, because every Nigerian is passionate.
Rwanda and Singapore didn't get to where they are through what you wanted to say, regular democratic practices.
That was why I was saying
you have to be a revolutionary before you do that.
People want President Buhari to remain a Democrat.
Look, let me tell you, if you remain like that, it will take a long time. It wasn't overnight that Singapore turned around. It was not overnight when Rwanda turned around. What the man was saying, is it the egg? Is it the chick? Okay? Is it the poverty that caused corruption? Is it corruption that caused poverty? It is corruption that caused poverty. The truth is that it is corruption you fight first, because even if you say that, oh, we have 9 trillion naira distributed to every Nigerian, some people will still help themselves to a large chunk of it. Unfortunately. And that was why the World Bank once said that if Nigerians spend 25% of their budget on the people, that Nigeria will be a nice place to.
We have no problem.
But the truth is that more than 75% of annual budget go into private pockets. And that is the private pocket of 1% of us, meaning that the 99% of us will have to make do with less than 25%. And that is why you have ravaging poverty. Now, if you can extract the cankerworm of corruption from the body politic of our leaders, then the money that is available will circulate. It will percolate to the very grassroots.
I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
Agwo, good morning, sir, in Plateau State.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank
this is in the studio.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much, sir. We are discussing anti-corruption in Nigeria, and many people have spoken. Sir, you will agree with me when we are talking of anti-corruption crusade. We are completely talking about any person that goes contrary to the law of the land. And as far as we are Nigerians, when we are talking of corruption, anything that do not go about justice, we will never get it right. And if there is justice, people are honest, people are sincere, people fear God, and have conscience. I think the better way we will get it right. But as far as I'm concerned, talk about fundamental human rights in this country, it is not interpreted well. Talk about rule of law in this country, it is not interpreted well. And we still practice other people are more equal than others. Then how can we get it right?
Okay. I hear you. Thank you very much, Agwo. Thank you, Mr. Agwo. Thank you for calling in. Some animals are more equal than others in the fight against corruption in Nigeria, is the point that Agwo is making. Yeah. And I don't know if that is actually perception or fact.
It has always been like that in Nigeria. Any capitalist system is about exploitation of the weak for the benefit of the strong. And that is unfair distribution of wealth. Politics.
So we have to be careful here because is it intentional?
It is deliberate.
Is it intentional?
It is deliberate. Because if they don't keep...
Then that would put the lie to the whole fight against corruption.
If they don't keep the masses perpetually low and poor, they will have energy to fight them. They remove the right to know. Don't mind the FOI that we have.
Yes.
It is still weak, but despite that,
freedom of information,
they don't act. Now, they don't even allow you to work because what they will do is that they will not give you the information that you require. They will ask you to go to court, knowing fully well that you do not have enough naira and kobo to pay judicial, lawyers and other judicial officers to adjudicate in your matter. Okay, so they know that you'll be frustrated out of it.
Yakub has come in with a question. Good morning, Mr. Yakub.
Good morning, Chief Yori.
Thank you for calling.
And good morning to your guests. Good morning, Mr. Debo Adeniyi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Chief Yori, I really sympathize with Mr. Debo because I've been following him quite long now. Everywhere he goes, he always talks about this anti-corruption crusade. And then Mr. just said something. For me, I believe it is only Mr. President and the Vice President, quote and unquote, to say that they were the ones that are even ready to fight this corruption. I don't agree that there's not any minister in the cabinet that also wants to fight corruption. I can mention one person there, Festus Keyamo. So I would say that even up to today, corruption makes sure that the EFCC chairman was never confirmed to be substantive chairman of EFCC. It's the corruption. Because in the last dispensation, the first time of Mr. President, we know some cabal. They make sure that the barrier between the chairman of EFCC and the National Assembly, up to today, that is why the man does not be a substantive chairman of EFCC. Another thing is this: we have every different event of corruption in this country. I may have a minority opinion, and then I believe Mr. Deba Adeniyi will do justice to this thing I'm about to say. I'm of opinion that if we really want to fight this corruption, although we don't have the National Assembly that can make such law, I believe in capital punishment for all this kind of nonsense that is going on. Let me give you a typical example here now. The judiciary make a pronounce that the governor of any state in this country has no right to sack any local government chairman elected by people. What happened in your state? The governor for your state, and then he went ahead and sacked the same local government chairman that was elected by people. Where Supreme Court says that you have no right to do that.
Thank you very much, Yakub. I appreciate your call, and I understand what you're saying, that the laws in our country, unfortunately, they should be sacrosanct, but there is evidence that people will do what they will with the law depending on the power that they have to deploy.
Because the people are complacent.
So, for how long will the people keep on standing this, I suppose, is the question. You've explained that, look, people are weak, people are hungry, and they are strategically being put like that. That's a theory right there. But there's always an end. People talk in Yoruba, they say, look, you push a guy to the wall and there's nowhere for him to go anymore.
If they can prosecute successful revolution,
you see,
then you get it.
Like he had said, you see, there are still a lot of things to be put in place. And the law, we will still go back to the law, has a lot to do in the whole thing.
Part of the problem is the kind of law we have in Nigeria, where we are accused and then you have to now provide the evidence. It's not what they say the French law is about when it comes to terrorism, where the state says you defend yourself.
Even in UK, there is a law now, unaccountable wealth law, that if you have, up to 50,000 pounds, you understand, you must be able, the onus of proof now goes to you, for you to prove the source of that.
We also have it in Nigeria. Section 7 of EFCC Act.
So that if you have up to 50,000 pounds, and because they also have a way of tracing, your source of wealth.
Exactly. Okay, one moment, Mr. Ayeni has come on the line from Surulere. Good morning, Mr. Ayeni. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to your two guests in the studio.
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, please, I don't know. I want to ask, what are the yardsticks that the Transparency International used to measure the corruption index in every country? Because for the first time in the history of Nigeria, this is the first time we're having a president that is ready to fight this corruption issue from onset. And since then, the Transparency International has been saying corruption is getting worse. Even when we still have somebody that is tackling it head on, despite the fact that he doesn't even have people that are really supporting him. So I don't really understand. Are we having political transparency international here? Because I don't know. I don't understand. Maybe people there can put me through.
We have a problem. In fact, we're going to have to quickly wrap up because you saw a clip there that was live in Kogi.
Can I quickly intervene on that?
Very briefly, please.
Very briefly.
15 seconds.
You discover that Transparency International is an NGO like ours. And they can also be political. I tell you, I don't know if it is petty. Okay, the former president Olusegun Obasanjo is one of their advisors. And the position of Olusegun Obasanjo on our government here. You now have several other NGOs that could have been political.
We've completely run out of time, and that's an intriguing thought that you brought on. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to air it, but gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming on. Mr. Debo Adeniran, Executive Chair, Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, and Mr. Ademola Adogoke, Communications Consultant. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Time is a tyrant. It's always doing us in when we have these things to discuss. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.